Welcome everyone as we will be moving into the next part of our book, which is over the next principal function that managers perform, and that is over organizing. So to do that, we will start looking at Chapter 8, which is over organizational culture, structure, and design, which are the building blocks of the organization. Chapter 8 is broken up into 6 different parts. We'll look at those now. The first section, 8.1, is what kind of organizational culture will you be operating in? After reading that, you should be able to answer the question here listed for 8.1. How do I find out about an organization's social glue, its normal way of doing business? Then we move on to part 2, which is developing high performance cultures. Then you should be able to answer the question, what can be done to an organization's culture to increase its economic performance? Part 3 is over organizational structure. After reading that section, you should be able to answer this question. How are for-profit, non-profit, and mutual benefit organizations structured? Moving on to the fourth part of Chapter 8, which is over the major elements of an organization. You should then be able to answer this question. When I join an organization, what 7 elements should I look for? 8.5 is over the basic types of organizational design. After reading that, you'll look at this answer, or this question, you should be able to answer it. How would one describe the 3 types of organizational design? And lastly, part 6 in chapter 8 is contingency design, factors in creating the best structure. After reading that, you should be able to go back to this question here at the beginning. What factors affect the design of an organization structure? And you should be able to answer that. So let's go ahead and jump into part 1 of chapter 8. Alright, 8.1. What kind of organizational culture will I be operating in? To implement a particular strategy, managers must determine the right kind of 1. Organizational culture, and 2. Organizational structure. Organizational culture, sometimes called corporate culture, is a system of shared beliefs and values that develops within an organization and guides the behaviors of that organization's members. An organization has a personality, and that is its culture. Culture can vary considerably inside an organization, and the sources of these characteristics also vary. They may represent the strong views of the founders, the reward systems that have been instituted, and the effects of competitors. The organizational structure, who reports to whom and who does what. Therefore, an organizational structure is a formal system of tasks and reporting relationships that coordinates and motivates an organization's members so that they can work together to achieve the organization's overall goals. Now, there are 4 types of organizational cultures, and you can see those here on this figure. They are the clan culture, the adhocracy culture, the market culture, and the hierarchy culture. Now, the clan culture here has an internal focus and values flexibility, and you can follow along as you can see how our cross members are quadranted into this figure here. Now, like a family organization, the clan culture encourages collaboration among employees, striving to encourage cohesion through consensus and job satisfaction, as well as to increase commitment through employee involvement. Now, clan organizations devote considerable resources to hiring and developing their employees. As we move to the adhocracy culture, this has an external focus and values flexibility. This culture attempts to create innovative products by being adaptable, creative, and quick to respond to changes in the marketplace. Employees in this culture are encouraged to take risks and to experiment with new ways of getting things done. These are well suited for startup companies, those in industries with constant changes in those industries, and those in mature industries as well that need innovation to enhance their growth. Let's move on to the market culture here, which has a strong external focus and values stability and control. This culture is focused on the external environment and driven by competition and a strong desire to deliver results to their customers. Customers, productivity, and profits take precedence over employee development and satisfaction in this culture. And in this culture, employees are expected to work hard, react fast, and deliver quality work on time. Lastly, we'll talk about the hierarchy structure, which has an internal focus and values stability and control over flexibility. Companies in this kind of culture are apt to have a formalized, structured work environment aimed at achieving effectiveness through a variety of control mechanisms that measure efficiency, timeliness, and reliability in the creation and delivery of products. Now, organizational culture appears as three layers. The first level here is observable artifacts, which are physical manifestations of culture. Most visible level of the organization is expressed in an observable artifact such as manner of dress, awards, myth, rituals, ceremonies, and visible behavior exhibited by managers and the employees. Level 2 is espoused values, which are explicitly stated values and norms. Espoused values are the explicitly stated values and norms preferred by an organization. These may be put forth by the firm's founders or top management. Employees are frequently more influenced by the enacted values, which represent the values and norms actually exhibited in the organization. And the third level, level 3, is basic assumptions. This is the core values of the organization. Basic assumptions, which are not observable, represent the core beliefs that employees have about their organization. These are taken for granted and are difficult to change. Culture in an organization is transmitted to employees through the various means: symbols, stories, heroes, and rites and rituals. Now, a symbol is simply an object, an act, quality, or event that conveys meaning to others. In an organization, symbols convey its most important values. A story is a narrative based on true events which is repeated and sometimes embellished upon to emphasize a particular value. Stories are, transmitted orally, or they are oral histories that are told and retold by members about incidents in that organization's history. A hero is a person who whose accomplishments embody the values of that organization. Rites and rituals are the activities and ceremonies, planned and unplanned, that celebrate important occasions and accomplishments in the life of that organization. We'll use this figure here to talk about the 4 functions of organizational culture. The first one is organizational culture gives the members of an organization an identity. The second function of organizational culture is that it facilitates a collective commitment. Third, it promotes social system stability. The more effectively conflict and change are managed within an organization, and the more that employees perceive the work environment to be a positive and reinforcing, the more stable the social system within that organization will be. Fourth, it shapes behavior by helping employees make sense of their surrounding. The culture helps employees understand why the organization does what it does and how it intends to accomplish its long-term goals. If culture is strong enough, the expectations of the culture replace formal rules and regulations. There are 3 perspectives have been proposed for increasing an organization's competitiveness and profitability. So these are the 3 cultures for enhancing that economic performance: strength, fit, and adaptive. Now, the strength perspective assumes that the strength of a corporate culture is related to a firm's long-term financial performance. The fit perspective assumes that an organization's culture must align or fit with its business or strategic context. And lastly, the third, the adaptive perspective, assumes that the most effective cultures help organizations anticipate and adapt to environmental changes. Now, changing organizational culture is a teaching process in which organizational members teach each other about the organization's preferred values, beliefs, expectations, and behaviors. Now, this process is accomplished by using one or more of the following mechanisms: formal statements, slogans and sayings, stories and legends and myths, leader reactions to crisis, role model training and coaching, and then lastly, physical design. Now, formal statements of organization philosophy, mission and vision, and values, as well as materials used for recruiting, selecting, and socializing employees. The second one, slogans and sayings, The desirable corporate culture can be expressed in these language, slogans, sayings, and acronyms. And if you've ever been in a larger organization, you'll know that acronyms are just excessive at times. I've been places where there are actual PDF files or books on what all the acronyms used in the organization mean. The next mechanism we look at are stories, legends, and myths. This pretty much says exactly what it is. As you're in an organization, different stories and legends will help that cultural change. Leader reaction to crisis. This is how top leaders respond to critical incidents and organizational crisis. Send a clear cultural message to the organization. Role model training and coaching. As you're in an organization, you may find some of these people that model what the culture is expected there. And as these role models maybe change a little bit, so will that culture. Training that you're given by an organization will help change that culture. And in our book, we got an example for physical design, and our example was the example of Intel previously using cubicles to promote equality, but are now using open seating arrangements to encourage collaboration and innovation amongst the members in its organization. We look at the next few here: the rewards, titles, promotion, bonuses, organizational goals and performance criteria, measurable and controllable activities, organizational structure, and organizational system and procedures. We had examples from many different ones here for rewards, titles, promotions, and bonuses, where the Triage Consulting Group and their yearly merit bonuses for high achievers was one way of changing the culture in that organization. And many organizations establish organizational goals and criteria for recruiting of new associates, selecting, developing, promoting, dismissing, retiring people, all of which reinforce that organization's culture. For measurable and controllable activities, an organization's leaders can pay attention to, measure and control activities, processes, or outcomes that can all foster a certain culture. When we talked about organizational structure, we talked about the hierarchical structure found in most traditional organizations is more likely to reinforce a culture oriented towards control and authority. And a flatter organization eliminates management layers in favor of giving employees more power. And once you empower employees, they get a lot more buy-in to changes and the organization as a whole. And lastly, organizational systems and procedures. Companies are increasingly using electronic networks to increase collaboration among employees, along with innovation, quality, and efficiency.